Welcome everyone to Blending AI and Human Ingenuity to Revolutionize the Creative Development Process. My name is Molly Purcell. I am the Digital Marketing Specialist for Greenbook. It is my pleasure to introduce our speakers. Michelle McDonald, Group Senior Vice President for MetrixLab, and Alex Brosher, the Strategic Insights Opportunities Manager for Colgate-Palmolive Company, North America. Michelle has two certified therapy rescue dogs. Alex is a big fan of the 538 podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. I appreciate the introduction. Again, Michelle McDonald from MetrixLab. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We appreciate the time. I know everyone is juggling, working from home or working remotely, and you had a choice of sessions. So we appreciate that you're joining us here. And Alex, if you want to say a couple of words of introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here. This is a topic that I find really interesting myself. So when Michelle asked me to join and speak on how we've worked with it, I was excited to be a part, because I think it's not just professionally but personally, I find this sort of stuff really interesting. Probably could get that from the talk about 538 podcast. I just love data. I love modeling and data. I know I do like a model myself, but data model. So this is a really exciting topic, and I'm glad that everyone's here to learn about it.
Awesome. So over the next 20-25 minutes, we are going to start with just taking a step back and thinking about some of the changes that are occurring in 2020 and with advertising specifically, and how that is leading to an even greater interest in AI than we saw 6 months ago. We will talk about Colgate's need for innovation and new technologies. We'll get into MetrixLab's innovative approach to using AI in our creative development testing. The impact that innovation is having on Colgate and how Alex is bringing that back to the team, and then where we're all headed next. So please, if you do have questions, we will leave time at the end, but please type them into the Q&A and we'll try our best to answer them. Let's jump in. So stepping back, even in this crazy period of COVID, we do see that people are still looking for brands to advertise. They expect it and they're open to it. We saw earlier in the year, certainly a dip in spending on advertising, but that has come back pretty strongly. What's changed, though, is that marketers have had to change their campaigns or their strategy around the advertising itself. And what's evolved is this almost sea of sameness, where a lot of the ads out there are following this COVID playbook, where the original playbook was, we're here for you and we're in this together. And now there's a lot of, we're open, welcome back, we can't wait to see you. And while the messages might make sense, the risk is that you're entering into the sea of sameness and becoming wallpaper. Advertising, even now, still needs to break through. It still needs to have a clear and important message, and it needs to motivate behavior. Unfortunately, because we're in this rapid time and people are needing to change course, they're rushing to get the advertising out and they don't have time to go through a full creative development process where you might be testing ads and different iterations of ads. Likewise, budgets haven't opened up in 2020. And so there's this real pressure for doing something different. So enter AI. AI has become the answer to all things insights, right? And this is going to be our great savior. I have some examples on the screen of how AI is being used in areas other than in marketing research, but they're relevant examples because they do offer promise not just in our society, but in our solutions themselves. And so some of the technologies that are used in AI making phone calls for you, natural language processing, or facial recognition to help identify missing children, or computer vision, which helps to fuel the self-driving cars. Those are all technologies that we're also using in our AI-based approach for measuring advertising.
Yeah.
So we're interested. Yes, Alex, jump in with however you're interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, as Michelle mentioned, AI is everywhere, and we're getting that from our research vendors as well. Every day I'm hit with multiple emails with somebody talking about, we have this new AI solution, and it's great because we need to look for new opportunities. We need to be able to identify ways to be faster, to be more agile, to learn quickly, because the old way of testing, taking time, it doesn't always cut it anymore. With the ability to get advertising, to get digital advertising into the market so quickly, there could be a lot of dead time if you're spending many weeks testing it beforehand. So when Michelle came to us with this new technology, we were definitely excited to try it out, because instead of getting our information back in weeks, we're talking about days here, and you could even measure it in hours, really, without being too extreme there, because it allows us that flexibility. It gives us opportunities to test multiple approaches and disqualify things that aren't going to work much earlier on in the process. So, this AI approach really fit into not just our needs, but I think the needs of pretty much every marketing department, advertising department out there, that they need to learn more quickly and also be confident that what they're learning is reliable. So this was definitely it was of great interest to us, and it's something that we've used multiple times since it was brought to us.
Thank you. So the solution itself is Act Instant, and it is our AI-based approach, which I'll take you through some of the underpinnings of how it works, and specifically we'll go through a case study for Colgate. But I do want to just show you this video, which provides an overview of the methodology, the inputs and the outputs. And so please forgive any salesiness to the video itself, but I do think that it's just a helpful way of explaining the approach.
Act Instant, the new AI-powered creative pre-testing solution from MetrixLab. Predict the success of your creative with the power and speed of AI paired with human advertising expertise. No surveys, no respondents. Results in as little as 2 hours. Act Instant is a validated creative testing system that utilizes machine and deep learning algorithms together with predictive modeling to forecast ad performance. Here's how you benefit. Leverage AI-powered technology and predictive modeling together with human expertise for actionable recommendations and insights. Improve creative at lightning speed to accelerate the impact of your content. Develop meta-learning to improve your creative optimization process. So, how does it work? You send MetrixLab your ads and campaign details. We run your ads through our proprietary coding tool, where algorithms use the latest technologies in computer vision, speech-to-text, and facial recognition to code the ad. Machines are great at coding many of the advertising dimensions evaluated, but there are critical advertising elements that machines alone can't figure out. A human expert will finalize the coding to ensure that we capture all relevant aspects of an ad that impact its performance. After we break down each ad into its elements, these coded variables are used as data inputs and run through a custom predictive model. We developed this model from MetrixLab's survey-based pre-testing databases, solutions considered the gold standard for companies worldwide. Due to our validated pre-test methodology that utilizes in-context exposure to measure consumer engagement and attention. Finally, we deliver ad performance in a fully analyzed report. You'll get an understanding of how well the ad can break through and generate a response. the themes that impact performance, and the specific elements of the ad that contribute to performance. Comparison to best practices provides additional depth. MetrixLab advertising experts develop a summary of performance and actionable recommendations based on your objectives, providing the best of artificial and human intelligence. And it all happens in as little as 2 hours. Welcome to the future of creative pre-testing. Predict advertising performance intelligently with MetrixLab.
So thank you for watching our video. As I've experienced Act Instant and working with Colgate, there's 2 advantages that I've seen really come clear for me. The first is the coding process. We use AI coding for around 70% of the variables. The rest is done by real people. The AI is a proprietary approach for coding that uses speech-to-text, natural language processing, facial recognition, and computer vision, with customized processing in order to maximize the accuracy. All of the automated coding can be double-checked by a human analyst and adjusted prior to being finalized. For the 30% that's manually coded, we did explore using algorithms, but the accuracy level wasn't high enough. For example, we thought we could use algorithms to code celebrity status by looking at things like the size of following on social platforms. But it wasn't there. For me personally, the biggest value in the human coding is around message. We know messaging accounts for 50% of the impact on response to advertising. So accuracy is critical. Algorithms are not yet sensitive enough to get it. So human coding addresses this point. Longer term, we'll automate more variables because the thing with AI is it gets smarter. But we don't see manual coding going away anytime soon. The other benefit to the approach is the predictive modeling. So as our predictive models were developed by our marketing scientists based on our existing validated survey-based databases and approaches. We test thousands of digital ads every year. Unique benchmarks are maintained based on ad format, and recognizing that advertising rapidly changes, we keep the databases fresh with only ads tested from the last few years within them. This is the backbone of Act Instant. For development of the models, we took recent ads that were tested by our survey-based approaches and ran them through the Act Instant approach, and then we compared the overall performance. That's what you see on the right-hand side of the screen. So here we're looking at the top 20% of ads versus the next 20%, all the way down to the bottom 20. And what we can see is that the overall prediction of performance within Act Instant aligns with the same performance that we would see in our standard approaches. So in other words, if something performs well in Act Instant, it can also be expected to perform well as a survey-based approach. This means that Act Instant gets you to the same outcomes as survey-based methodologies that have long been proven.
If I could just jump in there, just to highlight one thing you said on that previous slide, you know, the human integration was really important to us. I mentioned before that I'm getting a lot of emails from research vendors who, claim they have this new AI machine learning tool. And, I'll have those conversations. And a lot of times, you leave feeling like you just have to trust them. Just give them the ad. They're going to put it in this black box and out will come these results. That 30%, as Michelle went through talking about, there's obviously an analytical component to it that makes it more accurate. And, ideally over time that would be phased out as the machine learns more and is able to better identify and code different variables. But for right now, it made us a lot more comfortable that we could see the different variables that are going into the model. That, we're trying something out new that we hadn't been really doing a lot before. And if we're going to put money behind it, we want to know what's actually going on. So that was something that was very important and honestly a lot different than what I've seen from some others where, there's just not as much transparency behind what is actually being measured. So that was a great benefit to us.
Thanks, Alex. So let's talk about what we're actually doing with Colgate. So we have an example of a case. And I think first what I'll do is just show you the video of an example 6-second ad that was used recently for the Optic White renewal campaign.
The most hydrogen peroxide in a toothpaste, period. New Colgate Optic White Renewal. The most hydrogen peroxide in a toothpaste, period. New Colgate Optic White Renewal.
Okay.
Okay, keep playing. It's probably good for sales.
I always play at least twice. So if we look at what do we learn from that simple 6-second ad when we run it through the algorithms. So first we start with overall performance, and that basically represents breakthrough and ad response or reaction. For this particular ad, we see that it falls within the top 40% of the database, which is great, but there's obviously room for improvement. We then dig into these different areas or dimensions that we know drive ad performance. So as was mentioned in the video earlier, we're looking at the relative importance of each of these different themes that are known to predict overall ad performance. So brand, audio, the characters, the message, etc. And then when we look at the performance of this particular ad on those themes, what we see is that there's really strong in the green performance on some of these lesser important dimensions. But in areas like brand, which is so powerful, we're actually just average. So those lesser important areas are helping to boost us up, but we still have room to improve on branding, which is so critical. And then going in a little deeper, we can see specifically within branding that over-reliance on the bug in the upper left-hand corner of the screen during the ad wasn't really working efficiently to drive brand takeaway. In contrast, the supers on the screen, the simple messaging, the colors that are also brand cues, those are helping to lift the ad. And so again, from this very simple 6-second ad, we run it through the algorithms and go through the coding and come up with some real learning about what's working and what needs to be optimized if this was going to be just a standalone piece within the overall campaign. It's part of a much larger campaign and it's actually working to support the overall initiative, which is exciting. So we could have the greatest insights in the world, but if it doesn't go back to the team and get actioned, then it's not very helpful. And so, Alex, I will pass it to you to talk about how you're bringing the impact and the adoption of new innovations back to the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And, some of that is just trying things. A lot of stuff you don't know until you try. And we've had some great successes with that. We've had some not so great. We've tried out things that really haven't worked out for us, which kind of goes back to why we found so much value in the detail that was provided about how this technology was measuring ads. That makes it a little bit easier to ease into something that you haven't tried. But we just have to do new things. Get people to understand what's going on, and then showing the value of, in this case, that very agile, very quick turnarounds. Sometimes we'll test multiple concepts, and going from weeks to hours really makes it a lot easier, especially for these types of ads that there were no actors in that ad. So we can go back and we can re-edit it, we can modify it. So there's a lot of value in getting that back, sharing it with the team so they understand what's going on and have the time to actually make changes. Whereas a lot of times you can get pre-testing back, and if you're too far in, you can't go back and completely redo it unless you want to change the date that you're going to get into field. So we've been able to do that to implement that, get people on board, share it with different departments so that they not only understand what's happening, but buy into it as well. And, when they do that, they're more supportive of trying new things. They see the value, they see how it can not only, help the business, but make things a little bit easier for them personally. Not having to spend as much time, cramming to try and get these deadlines out because we now have more time in between to make those changes. All of this still has to be socialized internally. It does take some effort to get that out, but it makes it a lot easier when you understand what's going on and you can communicate that value to other teams, show how it's beneficial to the entire organization, that flexibility, that agility and speed.
Yeah, I love that you're finding a way to bring innovation into the organization in a way that is proactive and helping to drive change. Because that's, one of the biggest concerns, I think, for me, as I think of insights in general, is if we keep doing what we've always done, then, business will just move without us. And so this is a time where data is so valuable and learning is so valuable and it's needed, but we can't do it in the way that we've always done it. And so it's exciting to have a solution out there that can help, but it's even more exciting to see when a client brings it to the organization and takes action.
And, I'll take this opportunity to, pat our Colgate team on pat our own backs because, the Green Book did just recently give us, I believe, number 11 most innovative companies after not being ranked on the list previously. So, that illustrated just what we're talking about here. We have been trying new things, and those rankings kind of illustrate that. This technology being just one of those new approaches that we have tried, and it's nice to see that we've gotten some recognition as a team for those new approaches and technologies that we piloted.
Terrific. And so what's next? So, for MetrixLab, right now we are rolling out Act Instant. The solution itself keeps improving. We are getting faster with the delivery, which is amazing, and we're launching it in more markets and for more platforms as we speak. So it's currently available in 20 markets. And for mobile, social, and online video. But in the next several weeks, it's going to be launched for television and display advertising. So more to come there. And then, Alex, as you continue to move up the rankings in innovative companies.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully we do see more growth because we are trying those things. And, that it's not something that you can just sit back and just accept. You do have to be proactive to try new things. And we do have to rely on some of our vendors to bring those to us at times, though, just because I'm sure a lot of you have experienced just the amount of email sometimes can be overwhelming. Understand salespeople just trying to do their jobs, but you get a lot. So developing relationships with some of your key vendors so that you can be on top of new technologies, new embeds, new methodologies is really valuable to us. And we've benefited from our relationship with MetrixLab, who is our digital pre-testing partner. And we've done a lot of work over the years with them. And this new technology just helps to expand that relationship. And I'm sure they're going to be developing new, more advanced things in the future, and we'll probably give them a test. Hopefully they work out, but I'm confident MetrixLab will develop those, and they should be pretty good.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you all. We do have a few minutes left for questions. Molly, I don't know if you're going to jump in with the questions.
I think you're muted, Molly.
Okay. Still not hearing Molly, so I can take a quick look.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there. Yeah.
Okay. So we got a great question from Stephanie. It seems like this would lead to homogenous advertising. How do you take into account ads that truly break the mold and are unlike other ads but make up the database?
I love that question. So what's interesting is, I don't think any of us would be satisfied with a solution that will lead to more wallpaper that's out there, to be honest. The coding is across hundreds of variables. And so you're not going to be able to rely on a formula of just, let's say, 7 areas. So, I had mentioned with the example ad that the branding was over dependent on just having that bug in the upper left-hand corner. We would never come back and say, okay, this is where you need to have your brand, or you need to show your brand at that first half second into the ad. It's really about the combination of 150 variables and how those all work together in order to drive the success. You're not going to be able to ever achieve true success with advertising that is not differentiated. And so that has to be valued. And I think, honestly, that's where the human aspect comes into play. So whether you're bringing emotion in, if you're bringing humor in, if you're bringing, like I said earlier, about the message and understanding, is it a single-minded message, or are you trying to throw in a lot of messages? So that balance is really addressed, I think, with the human analysis and human understanding.
Yeah, and just to add to that, if it were as simple as just, here's a checklist of variables that will make a guaranteed successful ad, I wouldn't have a job. We just, okay, MetrixLab, make us a new ad. You have the magic formula. You have to understand your own brand, and you have to, leverage that knowledge with the information. They're going to be able to give you these metrics that lead to success, but if it's not your brand, if it's not owning the relationship that you have with customers, it's still not going to work. There's still the creative, the art behind it. Maybe someday it can be, the AI can factor that in. But again, it's a partnership, that you have with these research agencies. So, you really do have to understand just, does this fit my brand and what makes us successful? Because there are some of the most successful ads do break the mold. I don't know if you ran the Nike, the famous Colin Kaepernick ad that, a few years ago that was incredibly successful. I don't know how it would show up in this tool. But that does break the mold. The best practice is most people would say, yeah, don't run a 3-minute ad, that it's long and can kind of be meandering. But it was such a powerful message, and it fit their brand so well. That's where the brand side has to come in. So, like I said, it's a balance. These tools are incredibly helpful, but you have to understand your brand relationship.
Mm-hmm. Have you run parallel studies to see how the MetrixLab findings compare to a more traditional research approach? Did they result in the same or similar conclusions?
I can actually because we did. When the very first pilot, we didn't have anything like ready right away, a new ad. So we went back and we ran, let's test out an old ad, because we just wanted to see the technology. And we went into it knowing it actually wasn't perfect. It was a TV ad, and like Michelle said, they're getting into TV here very soon. This was testing for the mobile digital ads, and so we went in saying, we know this is going to fail in a couple of these categories, and if this technology works, it's going to come back and show it failing. And you know what? It's rare that you're happy to see something fail in attributes, but we expected it. So that actually was good to see. Like, all right, this tool is showing kind of the same results that would have come from a larger study if we tried to put this long equity television ad into a mobile social environment. It just wouldn't work perfectly, and that's what this tool came back and told us. Mute.
Okay. AI can seem like a black box. How do you help the creatives accept the feedback the system provides?
Yeah, so I could speak a little bit to that, and Alex, I'm sure you have perspective on that too. one thing that, as experienced researchers and experience, particularly with a lot of creative development at MetrixLab, we want to be very careful that we're not killing the creativity of the creatives. The idea here is to create the best advertising that you can. And so we have obviously the overall performance scores, but it's really about those themes and really dissecting the elements within each theme that are helping or potentially hindering, and then hopefully feeding into the creatives to dial up potential areas of weakness and capitalize on those potential areas of strength. And Alex, certainly you have those direct conversations.
Exactly. And it goes back to what I said just a minute. You know, you can't expect anything just to be a perfect blueprint on, you know, here's exactly what you need to do. It's leveraging, the insights that we have with the people that, you know, do this for a living, that they're creative experts. They know a lot themselves. So take this information, implement it with what they know, what they're experts in, and, you know, you typically get pretty good results from that.
Yeah. We definitely want to bolster their efforts rather than make them feel like they're constrained. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Alex and Michelle. If anyone would like to connect with our speakers, they can do so in the community section of the North America agenda. Thank you again, both of you, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.